you want to know the best teams and equipments for the new legend rarity Super Vegito, but first you need to know how to use him. His element is purple. Not like normal purple units, he actually does extra damage when he's type advantage over green. Usually it's a 1.5 times multiplier when you are type advantage, but for this legend rarity, it's actually 1.75. The most common tags you'll probably see are Fusion Warrior and Saiyan, but he is also on Majin Buu Saga, so that's a team you might see run a lot as well. He's melee based, so you want to pair him with strike units, but he's so powerful that might not necessarily matter, and you want to play off of his unique gauge. So he has two. He goes from attack type to release type. To fill the attack type gauge, you press a bunch of cards. Once you fill it up, it starts emptying slowly, and while it's releasing, you want to take advantage of it by pressing the ultimate, which gets extra buffs such as type neutral completely, which is uncancelable, and cancelling the enemy's buff effects. You don't have to worry too much about him because he has endurance and buff cancellation, so he'll survive for a while on the battlefield, and if you're worried about him offensively, don't. His damage numbers are quite insane. He's literally built to attack the enemy at all times, and he even has two ultimates. You also want to do charge attacks from high areas when using him. Because he's a legend rarity, he will get the new animations which we saw in the trailer, where he can combo a blue card and an ultimate art if necessary, but this only occurs from taking an enemy from high to low ground. Let's get into building him now. Alright, banger video, very rare video, I know, but I just quickly want to address why I don't make these videos anymore. But this is a very rare exception because it's my GOAT, Super Vegito, and I felt it would be a very good opportunity to explain why I don't do these videos anymore. Not going to talk for long, but I just simply don't enjoy making these videos. They take a lot of editing, and I put in a lot more effort than probably any guide you've seen, which is why you like these videos and you watch them in the first place. I explain things very thoroughly, but also in a concise way, not to toot my own horn, but this is you guys' opinion on me. I'm just reiterating it, but I'm aware of the compliments you guys give me, so thank you. And on top of that, I put a lot of text on the screen, so even if you don't understand what I'm saying, you have the options on the left, given I don't thoroughly explain things, which doesn't happen all the time, but I'm human, I make mistakes, everybody does. But ultimately, these videos take a lot of time. I do them pretty quickly, but that means I'm putting out a lot of effort to cut down the time. That's because I'm used to making them, but it kind of felt like I was being a robot. In a lot of my videos, it does feel like that sometimes, and ultimately, I didn't become a YouTuber to be a robot. I want to enjoy the content I make. So I guess maybe because it's a hype unit, I don't mind. I'm excited right now. It's Super Vegito. And you could be like, oh, that's crazy bias. Yes, we all have our preferences. Ultimately, I could just be like, why don't you make a guide? It's not that simple, is it? Well, you're the one that might need the help, which is why you're watching the video, I guess. So if the unit moves me, I might drop a little best teams and equipments. Otherwise, you probably won't see one from me. But like I said, this is an exception, and I'm sure you're going to want it for this unit anyways. He's a very hype unit, but don't expect every hype unit to get one. I just wanted to put this segment in because I know a lot of you guys have been missing this video, and I put out a community post a while back, but I know a lot of you guys don't check that either. So in the video, it makes the most sense to explain. Hopefully that's okay, but enjoy this best teams and equipments for the legend rarity Super Vegito. Right, so here we've got Majin Buu Saga. Just note that I'm recording this prior to the unit coming out. So for Super Vegito, I'm using the purple one as a placeholder. And I've got here Kid Buu, the Ultra, because of his platinum equipment, and Buuhan, I don't have the Ultra, so I'm using a Sparking just as a placeholder for him. And then we've also got the supporters, but I'm not going to dive into them because they're also dependent on who your enemy is using. So I'm not going to talk about them. It's really just dependent on who you're going up against or who you want to use per battle. Also note that I'm recording this prior, so things could change based on the boost. So somebody I might say is not good right now could actually be useful tomorrow or even in the next week based on platinum equipments and things like that releasing. I'm not going to know completely all the details. Like I said, I'm recording this prior. But we're looking at Majin Buu Saga here. If you really wanted to run the team, this is the best way to do it. So you're going to want to put Super Vegito on the leader slot, then basically make the rest of the team regeneration or powerful opponent, where you'll be giving Kid Buu and Buuhan most of the buffs because Super Vegito is the new unit. If you wanted to go another way, then of course you could. I'm going to show you some other units you can use, but I think these three are obviously going to be the best. They're the most popular. You guys saw the World Championship as well. Kid Buu and Ultra Buuhan were doing numbers. They're actually very good. I would advise to Zenkai buff possibly Buuhan because he's the only person without survivability. He doesn't have endurance. He only has his counters, so once his counters are down, he's cooked. Also, because he can't counter blue cards, you don't want him to get one-tapped. So I'd probably go defensively Zenkai buffing Buuhan while leaving Kid Buu and Super Vegito to their own vices because they already have the endurance and buff cancellation to actually survive on their own. But let's go into the character list for other options that you could run. So if I go into my character list here, always like to do the settings. So Legends, Limiteds, and Ultras are the main ones you're going to use. Also set the episode to Majin Buu Saga. I actually want to show you all the not acquired as well. So I'm going to go acquired first and I'll show you unacquired. So if we look at these blues, they're pretty much all bad, but there's a chance that this guy here, Kid Buu, might return onto the boost. He's actually very good when he was actually very good when he got the Zenkai, and if he does get on the boost, he could be solid. Same thing with using Super Vegito. He's actually a very good option offensively because of the rising rush mechanic that he has, and he also gives Majin Buu Saga base health if you get him to 14 stars, which I imagine some of you might have. It was almost over a year ago. 2 years we're leading to for when he released, so you might have him high stars. The green just not usable. If you have Ultimate Gohan, he might return on the boost as well. At 14 stars, he could be usable. Ultra Super Vegito could also be usable. Check where he is on the boost, because that would actually make the biggest difference for how good he is. And even Gold Tanks over here, depending on the stars you have him, he could be usable as well. But for the most part, you're just going to want the 3 that I'm using. I have to change my filter. I really hate these new settings. Out of the characters I don't have, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3 Goku, I don't imagine he would make a return, but he does actually do a lot of long combos, and if he's on the boost, he could be useful. I think he might need a platinum equipment though, because power creep has been a very big thing, considering he released in the 2025, was it only recently 2025 festival? No, it was the 2024 festival, so over a year ago as well. And Ultra Margin Vegeta, a lot of people will be using him just because he locks in, obviously. He's also type advantage against the new Vegito, so a lot of people might want to opt in to use him. Just check for sparkings as well. I think I shouldn't ignore them. So let me go to the acquired again. So we got the acquired here. Out of the blues, nobody that I already didn't mention, so depending on the boost, etc. In the greens, Evil Majin Buu might be somebody that you might want to use. I've seen people try to use him because he was on the boost, and he might go on the boost even higher now that it's going to be a Super Vegito releasing. We've got the purple units, again, outside of like Ultimate Gohan, and obviously Vegito's going to be on the team. Wouldn't really recommend. The yellows are not really great either, but look out for Zenkais. I do like this free-to-play. I think it's a free-to-play 18. She's a very good support unit to give your team large buffs, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend. And when it comes to the reds, I'd maybe only go this Zenkai Gold Tanks, because his blue card does a lot of damage, and I mean a lot of damage. He also Zenkai buffs Majin Buu Saga, that could be of use for the team, while also having the Z ability for Majin Buu Saga, so that would be useful there. That's everything regarding Majin Buu Saga. I'll get to bench later overall for Vegito, but obviously consider the other people on your team as well. Right, so the second team we've got here is Saiyans. I want to note very heavily that Saiyans has a lot of members on it, but these are the 3 that I think would do very good, considering GT is already a very valuable team. So you want to build the core team as GT, having the Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, because they're literally tied by the hip, because Goku doesn't get his endurance without Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, rather one other GT member. It would be best to just use the best GT member, which would be Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. You could also go to Super Saiyan 3 Goku, but he's also purple, so you may not want to run 2 purples, not having a red to protect the purple from the yellow. That's just something to consider. But obviously the rest of the team would also be GT to give benefits to Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, because they're going to be weaker by default. Super Vegito will be getting all the buffs anyways because he's on the leader slot in this case. But let's go to the character list. Now, something about Saiyans, like I said earlier, there's a lot of them and they don't always cross over tags. So you could get a Saiyan from sagas from the movies, Majin Buu Saga, the Cell Saga, etc., which means you have to be very vigilant and check their Z abilities to make sure they mesh with your team. So in this case, I showed you the GT team that I have, and that means I'm going to build the rest of the team GT so that the 2 Ultras can get their max Ultra ability. You need GT members if they're not on the leader slot to max out their Ultra ability. I'll only be getting 25%. If I even add 3 more GT members, it could be less than that depending on the Zenkai buffs I go for, etc. So if I go back to my character list, out of these Saiyans here, quote unquote, obviously Super Saiyan 4 Goku is going to be useful. I just brought him up. Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta as well. Maybe Ultra Super Vegito might make a return. We might see. And obviously Super Saiyan Goku's KO guard. Even Ultra UI if you play very passive, but I'd say very much needed stars are necessary. More so the KO guard's going to be more valuable though, naturally. Let's go to my non-acquired because they changed the way this works. Ultra Margin Vegeta should certainly see a return, given that he's yellow. People are going to want to counter this Vegito because he's purple. Let's go into the Legends Limiteds. Let's just go straight to Sparkings because there's a lot. So let's go to the acquired first, and I'll do the non-acquired because there are some that I don't have. So we have the acquired here, and we're looking at the blues, and I'm not going to lie, there's not really anything that's going to move me, maybe similar to what I mentioned in Majin Buu Saga. So we got Fusing Super Vegito if he's going to be on the boost, but outside of that, the blues are looking pretty dead. I wouldn't recommend any of them. let's go into the greens. The greens that I have is the same thing besides from maybe fusing Super Gogeta. Everybody else is pretty dead straight up. I wouldn't recommend any of them. Going into the purples, you don't really want to run 2 purples, and even if you did, the purples are looking pretty dead. I wouldn't recommend any of them. Going into the yellows in the same boat, they're looking pretty dead. Depending on the team you're running, maybe you could run Super Baby 2 with the GT build, but I wouldn't actually go that way. Maybe as well Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, but just consider the fact that he's not a melee type, so you'd be throwing off the synergy, but he is a good unit, so I am going to mention him. And then going into the reds are just even worse overall. Maybe Super Saiyan Goku Mini didn't see a lot of playing time because Daima didn't really, you know, have a great resurgence, but this guy is still pretty decent and can snipe a bunch of people so that you can protect your purple Super Vegito from any yellows. We're not done though. We have to check the non-acquired because there are some characters I don't have, so it's not in order all of a sudden. But if we look at it, I mentioned that this Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3 Goku might actually return to be on the boost, and if he is, his combos are long, he might even get platinum equipment. And Goku and Hit, wouldn't really recommend, but they are an option if you wanted to give the Zenkai buffs or to the purple Saiyan, run 2 purples in that case. Outside of that, I wouldn't really recommend. I guess I already spoke about this guy. Just because of the support factor, you can go 2 purples again and actually make your team a super team. But that's about it. Overall, Saiyans has a lot of options, but not exactly great options. But the GT guys are definitely going to be your best choice without a doubt, because the GT guys are trialed and tested. They're being used right now and they can give you consistent results regardless of who the extra unit is on the leader slot. Just Goku and Vegeta, they do a lot alone. The third team, and I'm not going to talk about this team a lot even though it's my personal favorite team in Dragon Ball Legends, it's Fusion Warriors. The team does have a coherent runnable team right now with Super Gogeta, fusing Super Gogeta, very good at nullifying endurance. Gotenks' blue cards are going crazy right now, and if you run Vegeta, of course the team's going to work out. But there's not a lot of options to actually make the team work in different ways, unlike the other 2 teams that I mentioned. And even the other 2 teams don't have that many options because you're going to want to run meta nonetheless. So if I just go into the character list, right, you're going to see very evidently that there's not many. So here's what I don't have. And maybe Red Zamasu on the leader slot is the only one I'd recommend. If we go to acquired, right, and I'm going to start with the Sparkings. The blues suck. Again, maybe fusing Super Vegeta might enter the boost. The greens suck, except fusing Super Gogeta. The purples pretty much suck. You're going to be running Vegito anyways. The yellows, would not recommend any of them. They all get one-tapped. And the reds here, I'm using Gotenks, and that should speak to the rest of the reds. Maybe Gotenks over here, though, might enter the boost, so that's something to consider. And I see some people run this guy mainly with Hybrid Saiyans, but I wouldn't recommend on a Fusion Warrior team, especially when this Gotenks literally exists and has a Zenkai. Let me go to the Ultras, though. There is something I want to talk about. So if we go to the Ultras, right, CMZ on the leader slot could actually be useful depending on how you run him, but you're going to go double purple, which means you're going to have to boost them up with Zenkai buffs. And he does have one Zenkai buff that's shared, so it's the purple Super Vegito that I'm actually using as a placeholder for the Legend Rarity Super Vegito. He could work with him, so you give them both the Zenkai buff, the HP buff. You put CMZ on the leader, obviously, to get the most benefits out of him. He's useful at a decently high start. I'd recommend at least 8 or 10. If you have him 5, low key, no, high key, just forget about it. Just forget about it. The other ones, they're not really great, but like I mentioned earlier, Ultra Super Vegito could see a return, and I don't imagine there's a Fusion Warrior that's, you know, an Ultra that I don't have. Yeah. So like I said, I'm not going to talk about this team that much, but it's something to consider, considering it is a team that is going to be run because Vegito is a Fusion Warrior and people just like running Fusion Warriors. But I definitely recommend the other teams and probably a leader slot option to polish up the teams, you know what I'm saying? So for this segment, I got some units that I think would be very good leader slot options. So we've got Ultra Kid Buu here with his platinum equipment, of course. We're going to have Ultra Super Saiyan Goku, his KO guard. Consider the stars, he is getting a bit aged, but the KO guard can come in clutch nonetheless. We've got Ultra Margin Vegeta, might see a resurgence. Nonetheless, he returned recently, so people might have summoned for him, got copies. But on top of that, right, this guy here is just very good for sniping your purples nonetheless. We got Ultra Buhan, very good unit right now, very meta relevant. The most recent release, his counters are very exceptional, and he's on Margin Buu Saga. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, still good to counter Buhan. Blue card does immense damage. His build up is outrageous. Leader slot option of death. We've got Fusing Super Gogeta, they're on the same team, but of course he's still a good leader slot option. And the final one here, we got Fusion 13, the Revival layer, and depending on how you're building your team, you can get value out of him. For example, with Ultra Buhan on the team, you can put this guy on the leader slot, so it's kind of powerful opponent if you don't want to run, or you don't have Ultra Kid Buu or something like that, or the other powerful opponents available in Dragon Ball Legends. So yeah, those are all the leader slot options that I'd recommend. They are all good options, and depending on how your account is built, pick which one suits you best. Now we've got the bench options. The bench is very important, so these are specifically for the new Legend Rarity Super Vegito. We've got the purple Super Vegito, the Legends Limited. At 14 stars, he's also a HP buffer. He's kind of mandatory Zenkai buff, but also additional on his Z ability, HP buff, and that will help your team immensely if you have this guy on there. We've got Super Saiyan 3 Goku, just a simple Zenkai buff. We've got Vegeta over here, he's a Zenkai buff as well, purple Saiyan. We've got this Vegito blue here. Just consider that he's range type, so he could throw off the synergy of your team because of his Z ability, but the Zenkai buff is for Fusion Warrior, which is useful for the new Legend Rarity Vegito. We've also got Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, only here because he's a HP buffer. A lot of people like to run HP buffs if they don't have high stars, but even for high star players, they can still run the HP buff too. And then finally, we've got Fusing Super Vegito because he's Majin Buu Saga, but only at 14 stars do I recommend him as bench because he's a HP buffer then. Before that, it's literally just a Z ability, you know, that does offensive damage. But the HP buff at 14 stars can really make the difference for Majin Buu Saga, which is why I have him on this list. Other HP options are very, very good so that you can actually have a lot of versatility on your team. Something I'd consider though. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the bench. Let's get into the equipments now. We've got this equipment here. I am they, we are one. Unfortunately for you, Omega, it gives you blast defense, special move, and ultimate damage. Also consider he has 2 ultimates, so that's going to be very useful. And he can also do the overhead kick down into the blue card, so special move damage is good as well. And getting the strike attack is very, very valuable. How you can get this is from the ultimate equipment collection. This equipment, Defiant Gohan, is pretty good overall for any Majin Buu Saga Z units. We've got HP on the first slot, strike defense and blast defense on the second slot. Then you can get up to 25% strike attack and blast attack on the third slot. And how you can get this is the ultimate equipment collection. If you're running Fusing Super Gogeta, this equipment could be very useful. HP on the first slot, and you get pure attack, so strike and blast on the second and the third slot. I always have to explain what the difference between pure and base is. So you see on the second slot, right, it says 12 plus 12% to own blast attack, but usually it would just say base blast attack plus X%, right? If it starts off without saying the base behind it, that means it's a multiplier. So typically what you'd want is 2 good equipment with good base stats and 1 pure equipment, so you can multiply the big number. So you're adding up already all the numbers in your kit and then the extra base numbers in the equipment. Then you need the multiplier, which is the 12% here, to really blow up that number even more, which is why you want to have 1 pure. So think about pure as a multiplier and base is just addition of a bunch of numbers until you get a big number. Then use the multiplier to make it even bigger number. That's the simplest way I can explain it. Cool. So you're going to have here blast defense on the middle slot as well, and strike defense on the middle and the third slot as well. But you also get pure strike attack, and it says to own strike attack when episode sagas from the movies, and tag Otherworld Warrior, which is essentially Fusing Super Gogeta. And you can get this from the dual coin exchange shop. I don't know why you'd want to go this route, but you might want to go this route. This route sometimes works. Base HP, health restoration on the first slot, strike defense on the second slot, so you're going defensively, you want to amp him up because you don't have that many copies of him. And you get base blast defense when tag Saiyan and tag Potara is a battle member, aka Vegito, which is very good, and it's plus 20% pure blast defense. And you can get this from the dual coin exchange shop. Another case where if you're running Fusing Super Gogeta, you can get benefits out of this, but also other options depending on the team you're building. Grit of Conviction, base strike attack and blast attack, so bit of offenses, the base numbers there. HP is always good on the second slot, and you get pure strike and blast attack on the third slot, but the condition is based on you having a Sagas from the Movies battle member, which is why I mentioned Super Gogeta. And you can't get this at the moment, but you might have it already based on previous events. Maybe it will return, I can't guarantee that, but if you do have it, it is a good equipment to run. We've got this equipment here. Look, don't get so depressed. It's got strike attack on the first slot, HP again on the second slot, and it's for Fusion Warriors. But on the third slot, you get pure strike if you really want to push that strike attack, right? Base strike attack in addition as well on the third slot. and you can get this from the Equipment Metal Exchange shop. This one's a solid one, I run it all the time. This one here is another case of a pure equipment if you're running Majin Buu Saga. Can be really helpful if you're running Kid Buu or Buuhan alongside this Vegito. It's specifically for Majin Buu Saga Saiyans. It's got pure strike attack and pure blast attack, but you have to run 3 Majin Buu Saga units. There's base blast defense and base strike defense, and extra base blast defense on the first slot, but depending on which way you want to go, you can go to strike defense or the blast defense, but it depends on your role. You can get this from the dual coin exchange shop. The dual coin exchange shop's not going to be easy to get anything in, but that's where you can get it, man. This equipment here, is this what you want? Well, is it? You get HP on the first slot and you get a bit of everything, to be honest. Now, just bear in mind for the middle slot, right? It's most ideal for this meta because you can get base strike attack and strike attack when there's a regeneration battle member. It's only 10% at the max, but 10% is still better than nothing. And that's actually a big amount if we're really thinking about it. The third slot, you can get double defenses, which can help you a lot, but you have to run a full Majin Buu Saga team. But honestly, in this meta, it's going to be very, very valuable to have a full Majin Buu Saga team. HP is always great as well. The dual coin exchange shop is where you can get this equipment. You might be running a strict Fusion Warrior formation, and although I don't really like this equipment because the first slot is base critical, which just sucks, it still does give you the pure strike attack and blast attack that you're going to want if you're running a pure Fusion Warrior team. And how you can get this is from the dual coin exchange shop. Right, so we got this Awakened equipment here. Awakened, I'll show you. It's literally built for Vegito. Strike attack, special move, strike attack. On the middle slot, you can't get both. Base HP, ultimate damage. That's screaming Vegito. How you can get this, you're going to need the memory from the Ultra Space Time Rush exchange shop, but you're going to need the base equipment to awaken it. You got special move, base strike attack, HP. Would not recommend running the unawakened version, even though it doesn't look the worst. It's not great either. We got this from the Equipment Metal Exchange shop. You're going to need a bunch of these to awaken it to the awakened version, obviously, and the awakened version is literally gold. And to finalize, I want to point out that at the time I'm recording this, it's before Vegito has released, so it's very likely that the Dragon Ball Legends developers will drop new equipment, awakened, etc. to make Vegito the unit that they want him to be. So I advise also checking out the Equipment Exchange shop, the Equipment Metal Exchange shop, but most likely they would put things in Ultimate Equipment Collection over here. Something to do with Vegito so you can grind him. It might just say Fusion Warrior Purple, and then you'd be able to grind that equipment, and it'll probably be built just for him. And there'll probably also be another one in the Dual Coin Exchange shop, considering that Hyperdimensional Co-op is about to co-op is about to reset. There's a bunch of equipments here. Obviously you can see it's about to reset. If you go to the recommended, it literally says 0 left. I've already done it. It says 10 hours left. So yeah, just consider that because I'm recording this prior, so I can give you the best odds building early as possible. But yeah, man, that's going to be the end of the video. Like I said, I'm not going to be uploading these consistently anymore, so don't expect this going forward for other units. But I had to make a video for this because, for one, my GOAT Vegito, but two, I also didn't make a video to inform people that I'm going to be making less guides. I'm also doing this as an exception, so don't consider it going forward. I really want to emphasize that, but you might see one here and there depending on my mood. I wouldn't recommend asking as well. I'll just do it. I'm doing this out of my goodness of my heart. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you haven't already, make sure to press the subscribe button. We're on this grind to 200,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching, man. My name is Zakashi, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.